And now, folks, let us look ahead to the future. This coming weekend, UFC 279, Chimaev versus Diaz. Going down in Las Vegas, Paradise, Nevada, at the T-Mobile Arena, Saturday, September 10th. With the headliners being in the welterweight division, Khamzat Chimaev taking on Nate Diaz. Oh boy. A rare UFC pay-per-view without a single title fight, which is always interesting. But two megastars, no doubt, in Chimaev and Diaz. So, boys, before we start talking about a handful of fights that we've selected to sort of predict and preview, any honorable mentions that you guys want to highlight for our listeners?
We have already brought up Halton Almeida. The man has a lot of hype behind him, and the fact is he's an absolute animal. So definitely watch him. He had I forget, Mark, do you remember who he was supposed to fight?
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Shamil Abdurrahimov up at heavyweight. He went up to heavyweight for his last fight just to take a fight, decided he liked heavyweight, and he was going to fight a pretty big fight against Shamil, but Shamil has since fallen out, and it's going to be a catchweight 220 against a debuting fighter, a guy who's 8-0, but I'm sure he's a massive underdog.
Was the catchweight for Jalton to come down then?
So, yeah, the guy is normally a light heavyweight, and I think Jalton was already, maybe he was 230-ish, ready to fight Shamil, and they were like, all right, let's agree on 220, something along those lines.
Wow, okay. So that's definitely one to look out for, but the fight that I'm looking forward to, mainly for one side of the corner than the other, Jake Collier versus Chris Barnett, seems pretty interesting. Barnett is an interesting fighter. He lost his last fight, got kind of weird towards the end of that fight. We don't really need to hash that out again, but will be interesting to see how he bounces back. Will we see the same dynamic striker as we've seen before? Will he play it a little bit different? Has he gotten better at working in and out of the clinch? Because his clinch game is really where he got completely sunned in that last fight. So definitely something to see if we've seen any improvements from him. And the ever elusive women's featherweight division is making a little slight appearance here with Norma Dumont versus Danielle Wolf. One should watch it because you never know when you're going to see a women's featherweight fight. So there's that.
Dumont's good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, she
there's
just
no division.
Yeah, there isn't much
the fact
of a
that
division.
Danielle Wolf is 1-0 in MMA.
Exactly.
That is her record.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Fighting in the UFC. Granted, she has boxing credentials, but still wild to see a 1-0 MMA fighter. But that's women's featherweight for you. Yeah, I'll mention that Collier-Barnett fight as well, but for the other side, I'm actually kind of more interested to see Collier. He seems like after kind of a while in the UFC, some different weight classes, he's finally putting things together. You could argue he beat Andrei Arlovsky in his last fight, which is a guy who is at a much higher level than a Chris Barnett is right now. So I'm curious to see if Collier can, despite taking that tough loss, if he can keep this run going that it seems that he's been on. One other that I'll point out is a guy named Johan Lines. He lost his debut, but he is a big-time knockout artist. He almost got the knockout in his debut, and then he kind of gassed. That's sort of his MO. He's back. He's fighting Darian Weeks, and I'll be very interested to see if he can solve that cardio issue and maybe get himself a big finish. And then another one to watch is Hailey Alateng fighting Shad and Helliger. Two guys who maybe are not the biggest names in the world, but they are both all-action fighters, and I think that fight will be a scrap and be in contention for fight of the night, possibly.
All right.
Cool. All right, boys. First fight we're going to talk about is the featured bout on...
Maybe not fight of the night. There's a lot of good fights on the main card. I take that last part back.
In the final fight on the prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus, going down in the featherweight division, Hakeem Dawodu taking on Julian Erosa. Both standouts of late at 145 pounds. Mark, why don't you give us your take and your pick first?
All right, so Dawodu is the favorite here. He's minus 225. Julian Erosa is plus 180. Erosa is on a hell of a run right now. The guy has won 4 out of 5 in the UFC. 4 out of his last 5, excuse me. And he's a dangerous-ass dude. But I think Dawodu is going to be too tough of a puzzle for him. Dawodu is very elusive. He does a great job defensively. He's hard to hit. He's got a speed advantage over nearly everyone he fights, and I think he'll have it here too against Erosa. I think he'll lean on it, and I think he can kind of play his game that he's able to play with most guys, where he, I don't want to say dances around, but uses that speed and outpoints them. And because of the way Erosa fights, how a lot of times maybe he'll be losing a fight and he's searching for that finish. He has to fight aggressive like that, and a lot of times he gets it. I also think it's a fight where Dawodu could look for the finish himself and kind of shake this point fighter image that he has. But I'm not going to pick it till I see it. So I will go Hakeem Dawodu, UD.
Nice. Omar?
I have been rooting for Erosa at this point, talking him up, been on the train. I'm going to stay on it. I think Julian Erosa, with his height advantage and his reach advantage, I think there is opportunity for him to keep Dawodu at bay. I think Dawodu would technically be the stronger fighter of the two, but I think Julian can take, like I said, the opportunities to keep him at bay with his long range striking. And I do think if it ends up going to the ground for any opportunistic reason, Julian Erosa is definitely liable to take something from him down there. I'm going to go Julian Erosa. I do think he needs to finish Dawodu in order to win the fight. So I'm going to go with submission round 3.
Nice. I'm going to go Erosa by TKO in round 2.
Wow.
I think Erosa brings
I like it. Team Erosa, baby. Let's go.
I mean, I also love Dawodu, man. I think he's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super sold on Dawodu. We don't have to get into it, but
He's very good. He just, like I said, he kind of is, he fights like he's content to go to the cards.
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That shit is boring. It's like you know what's going to happen in his fights. It's like there's never any anticipation. There's never a moment where like, oh damn, is he going to do it? Like, no, he's not, because he never does. It's just, yeah, it's not great.
It's fair. It's fair. It may come here. Don't be shocked if it comes. The way Rosa fights, he might have to scrap a little bit.
I'm gonna say you better not fucking decide to do it here now when my boy needs to win.
Okay, moving up into the main card in the women's bantamweight division, 135 pounds, seeing Mexico's own Irene Aldana taking on the U.S. opponent Macy Chiasson. Am I saying that right? I always second guess myself for that name.
Chiasson.
She should have been on the Paris card. It sounds so French.
I just thought the same thing.
Of course. Chiasson, of course, coming off of a nice win against this card's Norman Dumont as well. Chiasson 8-2 as a professional. The Louisianan 31-year-old. She has 2 knockouts on her record, 2 submission victories on her record. She herself has never been knocked out. Irene Aldana, her opponent, standing across from her, bringing in a very nice little 13-6 record. She herself is 34 years old, from Jalisco, Mexico, with 7 victories coming by way of knockout. She's coming off of a victory against Yana Kunitskaya back in July of 2021. Omar, give us your prediction and your pick first.
I respect Macy Chiasson for the work that she's done, having gone up to featherweight, done the tough thing and all that. I'm still not super sold on her, I think, the way a lot of people are. I am, however, super sold on Irene Aldana's hands, because you could fucking cash those things in a bank. Her hands are straight up gold. She's one of, I feel, one of the few women, especially in that division, that I can almost rely on her to land something nasty and to get somebody wobbled. Not very many women have the power behind their strikes to really inflict that kind of damage. Sometimes we see a lot in the men's divisions. Irene Aldana definitely has the ability to wobble. We've seen her finish. We've seen her finish early with her hands. She's very, very good. Chiasson is very much the lengthy, rangy fighter. Wants to play a lot more of the point game for sure. But Irene Aldana comes from that Mexican boxing, and the way that they deal with that shit, they go in. They go right inside. They work from the inside. They don't allow range to affect them. I would imagine Irene is more than happy to take a few jabs, a few checking jabs there, move her head, work her way inside until she's able to land some good hooks. The kicks and the knees will play a definite issue when it comes to Irene coming on the inside because Chiasson has the length in her favor. But I think Irene will be able to adjust to it. I think she'll be able to use her hands. And I think we see Macy get pieced up and knocked out. I don't think it happens early, but I do think it happens. And I go Irene, knockout, TKO round 2.
Mark?
So Irene's the favorite here. She is minus 180. Chiasson is plus 150. Chiasson is tough, and obviously she's the bigger girl. And I guess there's a scenario where she can kind of back Aldana up against the cage and clinch up and get some points in there, dirty boxing inside and win an ugly fight. But Aldana's actually very good in the clinch defensively. People have struggled to hold her there. She's not easy to control. And she is certainly, as Omar said, the more gifted striker. And I'm going to hope she can lean on that and fight a smart fight, keep that space, get inside when she needs to, and get a win. She'll be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage, but I don't think it will matter just because I think the level of boxing is very different between the two. She's
100%.
faster. She packs more power. She's the bigger finishing threat, and I think she should be able to win here. I will say I'm torn if I want to go finish, as I was on the last one. I'm going to go decision again on this one. Aldana decision.
It's fair. Chiasson's never been knocked out. I went
Yeah,
with the full shot there.
Yeah,
I think Chiasson is talented and very tough, so I don't see her getting finished here, but I agree with Mark. I think Aldana is going to be the more competent and more explosive striker in there, and I'm going to go with Aldana by unanimous decision. Okay, let's move on to this fight, which I am very excited for. Going down at a catch weight of 180 pounds.
No way you
said
said
Kevin?
You missed one. Johnny Walker and the Hulk.
Son of a bitch.
The Cutelaba.
Oh, I skipped that one before.
Before
Yeah,
Aldana.
Irene.
She's on. My bad,
I thought
boys.
you just changed the
You're
order.
good.
But
Yeah.
Let's go back and get it. Going down at light heavyweight, Johnny Walker taking on Ion Cutelaba. This is going to be a fun fight. This is a fight that you don't want to miss, not just for what's going down between the bells, but just overall, these two guys are a couple of characters at 205 pounds in the UFC. Mark, give us your take first.
So surprisingly to me, not that I thought Walker would certainly be favored, but I thought it would at least be like nearly even. And
Right.
Cutelaba is minus 205.
Wow.
Walker
Nah.
is plus 170. This is the most coin flippiest fight ever. Like I don't get how you make one guy a 2-1 favorite, but these guys had a fight, right? I mean, boy oh boy, it's two guys who might have 5 minutes of hell in them, and then just completely fall apart. So you had to put them across from each other and see what happens. I guess at the same time, there's the chance we get this tentative Johnny Walker who tries to play like this patient game. So who knows what Johnny Walker we get. It's kind of worked to his detriment lately playing that game. I wish he wouldn't. But I'm tempted to go with the betting underdog here. I mean, Johnny Walker has a 5-inch height and a 7-inch reach advantage. Like, those are big numbers, and he's a big, strong dude. Yes, his chin is not great, and it's very possible that Iwan just goes with his typical blitz and gets inside, and Walker thinks he's all right, and then he's on the ground and the fight's over. That could very certainly happen. But, I mean, there was a time where Johnny Walker had a lot of potential, and if he is going to be relevant at all going forward, he better win this fight. So
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to believe in Johnny Walker one last time. If he loses this one, I will certainly stop. I'm going to say he either fights that patient style he's been fighting and kind of keeps Cutelaba at bay and pulls away as the fight goes on, or that he gets sucked into a firefight and that his reach and power is actually what shines in it. So I will go with Johnny Walker, and I'll go with that latter scenario and say it gets crazy and he knocks Cutelaba out in the first round.
Okay, Omar.
I have zero confidence in Johnny Walker at this point.
I have zero confidence in either of them.
If I had to choose between the two, I'm actually going to choose between Cutelaba. I think Johnny Walker, the one big issue I've seen with Johnny Walker personally is it doesn't seem like he knows what his game is yet. A lot of the fights it seems like he's taken and he's lost have made him like rethink what is working and what isn't working for him, which can sometimes be a great thing, right? Because you can get to fill in your holes, you get to work on things. In other cases, though, it makes you second guess things you probably really are good at that now you may not be as confident in anymore. And I think a lot of times that can fuck up somebody's overall game, and I think it has with Johnny Walker. The fact that the last performance that man had against, what's his name? Against, the performance he had against Thiago Silva, not his last one. The performance he had against Thiago Santos. That fight, the fact that he was as happy as he was at the end of that fight, I don't win or loss, whether he won that fight, that fight was terrible. That fight was absolute dog shit. And he was like super happy that like he didn't gas and like all this. Like, bro, I get you need something, I guess, out of that. But that bar, if you're trying to become UFC champion, that bar is way too low. If those are your expectations, if those are, where you're looking to be happy in that division, because that's not it. And so there are a lot of those little factors that I just don't have the confidence in Johnny Walker to think that he's going to be able to pull anything off. Even when he was in the crazy, when he was acting crazy and he was winning those fights, we said it back then. That style doesn't last. Against guys who are really good and who can time you properly and who are more efficient in their movements and their strikes, in their experience, Johnny Walker is going to get run over every time. And he hasn't been doing very well. He caught Ryan Spann, a couple fights ago, but he's on, he's lost 4 out of his last 5. And he hasn't looked great doing it. Cutelaba, at minimum, comes to fight. Win, lose, or draw, Cutelaba comes to crack. And it's very possible that wakes up Johnny Walker and forces him to get into a scrap. But I just think Cutelaba thinks a lot less, very Hulk-esque, and thinks a lot less when he's in there and goes in to try to wreck somebody. And I think Johnny Walker, if he hasn't gotten his game down, he's going to be thinking in there, and there is going to be lag time between what his brain is doing and what his body is doing, and he's going to get knocked out as a result. I go with Ion Cutelaba, round 1, KO.
I'm going to side with Omar on this one. Look, at one time when Johnny Walker was coming to the UFC, I was like, yo, this is my guy. He's going to be a star, this guy. He's a giant at 205. He's a super athlete. He's exciting. He's got a personality.
Yeah.
And then you ran into Corey Anderson.
Right,
and he lost
Corey
again
Anderson.
to Krylov. And he came back and he beat Ryan Spann, but I believe he got rocked by Ryan Spann first.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then he's dropped another 2 since. Most recently getting knocked out bad by Jamal Hill. At this point, Mark, I'm where you are, but 1 fight ahead of you. So I think, these guys, it's a good match right now. At this point in their careers, they have very similar records. They both have a lot of knockouts on their record by wins, meaning. But at this point, given their recent histories, I just see, and just looking at their styles also, I think Cutelaba is a little bit more of a madman. I think Johnny Walker likes to pretend, or not pretend, but he likes to be a silly guy and like a fun guy. But he's not a madman the way that Ion Cutelaba is. And Cutelaba is a bit of a tank and a bit of a bruiser. And I think he's going to clang his fists off of Johnny Walker's head. And I don't trust Johnny Walker's chin at this point. He's got to earn this trust back from this fan. And so I'm going to go Cutelaba by knockout round 2. And with that being said,
I don't even wonder, like, the chin is one thing, right? Because Cutelaba will probably crack some of the best chins in the world and still put them out. But my issue with Johnny Walker is the man doesn't defend properly. Like, he goes in there all reckless and crazy and shit and, like, doesn't take the danger seriously. And
and he does this a lot.
Yeah.
What is that? Who used to do that all the time and got laid out by Gaethje for doing it?
James Vick.
James Vick. This guy. It's the same James Vick chin in the air.
Yeah.
Y'all are too elite for this shit. Stop putting your chin in the air. Stop.
Yeah, he's not great, it seems, at using his length. He could use his length better.
7 inches,
let's move
5
on.
inches of height.
Just learn how. I don't know. These guys, I would tie their right hand, their power hand. I would tie it to their forehead, and the only thing you're allowed to do until you can do it properly and often, and your body does it without thinking, jab. You're only jabbing now for like the next 2 weeks, bro, until you get it down. Jab your shit off.
Yeah,
man. People that length should be jabbing until their arm falls off.
Yep, they really should.
Okay, let's get back on track here after my miss of this contest. Going down a welterweight fight, going down at 180-pound catchweight. Kevin Holland taking on Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. When this fight got made, I was like, ooh.
Same.
Yeah, man, this is a fight for the fans right here. So Kevin, the Trailblazer Holland, fighting out of Fort Worth, Texas, 29 years old. Coming in, by the way, he has an impressive 6'3" frame for welterweight since coming down from 185 pounds. Very impressive for 170. Bringing in 23-7 with 1 no contest. Coming in with back-to-back wins over Alex Oliveira and Tim the Dirty Bird Means. He's taking on Texas, taking on California. So Danny Rodriguez from California, 35 years old. Ooh, he's born close to my birthday. 16-2 as a pro. He's only lost twice. 75% overall finish rate with 4 subs, 8 knockouts on his record, bringing in 3 consecutive wins into the octagon this Saturday night, defeating Mike Perry, Preston Parsons, and Kevin Lee. Hasn't fought those since August of 2021. So, guys, this is a fun matchup between the striker Danny Rodriguez and Kevin Holland. Omar, give us your take and your pick first.
I love this fight. I think it's a very, very interesting fight from both sides. I am, however, a Kevin Holland stan. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. As soon as I saw and heard the moniker Big Mouth and the fact that he could beat people up, sold. Absolutely sold. I've loved his come up. I've loved his rise. Met him at the UFC Expo, but obviously for like 60 to 120 seconds, something like that. But super nice guy. I think that Kevin Holland is one of those guys that is so well-rounded, decently well-rounded, right? His striking is not Alex Pereira striking, but it's effective. His wrestling is not DC wrestling, but it has become effective. His grappling, I think, is the thing that his biggest acumen at this point. His jiu-jitsu game, his ability to get subs and get into those advantageous positions. That would probably be out of all the areas, probably the thing he's most adept in or came in the most adept in. But he has leveled up every single one of those areas. Every fight, I feel like he gets better and better. The way his fight IQ seems to work, it seems to really adapt and take the things that work for him and apply it to his game, and applies it well. And he's very, very effective in there. And the way I don't have confidence in Johnny Walker is literally the exact opposite of the amount of confidence I have in Kevin Holland. I have all the confidence in Kevin Holland, and I think he will get this done. I do think this is a bit of a scrap at first. Kevin Holland does his thing, talks a little bit of shit, probably slaps him. But I think we get to a point where there's going to be a bit of a scramble, and I think Kevin Holland will take somebody's neck in an opportunistic moment. I say Kevin Holland by sub. I'm going to go second round. I'll go second round. Give Daniel Rodriguez his first sub loss.
Okay. Mark?
I, too, love this fight. It's a great fight. I'm very happy to see Daniel Rodriguez back. It has been a minute. It's weird that him finally returning is him taking a short notice fight. Like, he's been out for so long, you would think he could have just got an actual fight booked. So that's a little strange that we have to do a catch weight here. But I will take it because it's a great matchup. Rodriguez is the underdog. He's plus 165. Kevin Holland is minus 205, which is a little wider than I expected as well. I'm a bit torn here D-Rod is really good. He has had a great rise. I also love Kevin Holland. It's hard for me to not take him. Add in the fact that D-Rod's been out for a while. I did finally find out why. I don't remember if someone on this show told me, or if I found out elsewhere. But he was out because he broke his hand. Then he had it fixed. Then he broke it again. Then he had it fixed again. Now he's finally ready to fight. So that's not a super encouraging thing. And obviously, in the meantime, Kevin Holland has been his active self and looking damn good. So that makes me lean a bit toward him. He has a 7-inch reach advantage. He does have a good grasp of range, even though he's not necessarily that like prototypical use the jab range striker. He does use the range well. He has a good shin. He's not someone who I think D-Rod is just going to catch and drop. I got to go Kevin Holland here. He's looked really good as a welterweight. I know this is up at 180, but he's fighting a fellow welterweight. D-Rod has had, as much as he's had good performances, he's had guys have kind of hung with him, even if he's winning the rounds. He had that loss to Nicholas Dalby. Kevin Holland has shown me much more than D-Rod has shown me. And though I do think it could be close for a while, and I also think I could be wrong. Like maybe Rodriguez has gotten even better. He's a good fighter. I'm not trying to say he's not.
Sure.
I think it could be close for a while. I think Holland is just a bit too dynamic, a bit too clever in there. I think he kind of clips Rodriguez with something, not something that like drops him on his face, but something that creates kind of like a little bit of a stumbly scramble situation, and he grabs something, probably a neck, and gets a club and sub-esque type of win. I will say late in the fight, I'll say round 3.
That's where I was torn, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It should be noted really quick that we all here have rooted and will probably continue to root for Daniel Rodriguez. We love Daniel Rodriguez here. This is just one of those fights where we have to figure out who we love just a bit more. Is it child number 1 or child number 2? That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm a D-Rod fan.
If I'm betting
sure.
it, I'm betting Holland too. I'm not just picking the guy I like here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a D-Rod fan for sure.
Yeah.
He seems to have a great knack for fighting, a great knack for striking as well.
He does.
He's only lost twice. He's got 16 victories as a pro. But I agree with you guys, and we are going to be unanimous in our picks here. I agree with the take. I think Mark said it, that Holland's going to be a little more dynamic, and I think we're all going to take him by sub. I think he has a few more ways to win. If they wind up in a scramble, I think Kevin Holland is going to be slick. He's also not a dummy. He's not going to be in a firefight for being in a firefight sake with a guy who's a very talented striker in Daniel Rodriguez. Right. And if he sees an opportunity, Kevin Holland's going to take it. So I'm going to go with Kevin Holland by submission via scrambling into probably a triangle or a rear naked choke or something like that, or maybe a guillotine. And I'll say he gets him out of there in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I also...
We both
I was going to say, I wonder how much the shit talking is going to come into play, and I wonder how much of it is going to affect D-Rod, because D-Rod is from the street. Like,
I was going to say that point too, actually.
D-Rod fights like that, so I don't know if it's one of those things where, that's maybe an environment he thrives in, or
he might love that,
or it might be because he's from the streets that the ego thing might come into play. Like, yo, you're not going to disrespect me in the middle of this fucking arena here. And he just, goes full Cerrone in Cerrone Nate Diaz and just gets picked apart. It's very, I'm so interested to see how Kevin Holland's mouth works. That's not going to come out right. I'm really interested to see how Kevin Holland's shit talking is going to work in this fight.
I don't think of it as shit talking. He just talks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
it's
that.
It's like a mind.
We're having fun talking to each other.
Yeah. No, I guess you're right. I got the mind games in general. Then the talking, it presents a different aspect to a fight that not a lot of them have, and he's good at it, and it doesn't really seem to affect him negatively. I mean, he had a whole conversation with Jacare before he knocked him the fuck out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, shit talking. He gets popped with a jab. He'll be like, "Nice jab."
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because he told Jacare, "Why you hitting me so hard, man? Why you hitting me so hard?"
It's like, oh my god.
God, I love
And,
Kevin Holland.
I'll just say I meant to say this when I was talking. Daniel Rodriguez has looked very good against a lot of guys who don't have a ton of other options but to box with him, like Gabe Green and Mike Perry, and even Kevin Lee, who had him taken down early but then couldn't do it again. He had to stand there and box. Kevin Holland's not that guy. Kevin Holland can change a fight in a lot of ways, even in ways that don't make sense, that are like crazy ways. But if he needs to change a fight, he'll change a fight. So that's kind of part of the reason I can't just see Rodriguez doing his typical outbox you thing to Kevin Holland.
Also, Kevin Holland doesn't break mentally. I've never seen that kid give up at any point of any round, whether he's losing it, winning it. He's in it 100%. He knows that he's fucked up, so he's going right back in like if he's, like if that round never happened. We're just going in there to win. It's hard to pick against him, man. It really is.
I got to say, it's a great tragedy in the sport that Kevin Holland was at 185 and moved down to 170, and Sean Strickland was at welterweight and moved up to middleweight. And these two have just like crossed paths. It would be such an entertaining fight for the fans.
It would.
We would need a special and specific microphone to be in that ring for that fight.
Yep.
That's a tough
I want to hear all of that.
It would be.
Turn the commentators off. I don't want to hear them for that fucking fight. Turn the commentators off and just give me the mic right in the middle of that ring.
Okay, it's we're good. It's getting late, and I'm recovering.
This was
from
not the
being sick
main
and
event.
Feeling like shit. So
we're
let's
talking a lot
march
today.
on. Please take mercy on my soul, gentlemen. Co-main event, fun one for the fans once again in the welterweight division. Jingliang taking on Tony Ferguson, fighting at welterweight. Is this his first full reign at 170 pounds ever?
It's back.
Probably not.
He did tough at welterweight, if I'm not mistaken, and then did one or two fights afterwards at welterweight, and then went down to lightweight after that.
Yeah, and Tony Ferguson, of course, he doesn't really need an introduction for anybody who's listening to this, but Tony became a beast at lightweight. Things haven't been going his way lately. Of course, he had that really, really tough loss against Gaethje, which really kind of set this whole thing in motion for him since 2020. Then he got brutalized by Oliveira, who went on to become champ. Then he got beat by Dariush. And then he got front kicked into the front row by Michael Chandler. So he's looking to get back in the win column. Changing weight classes, when guys do this, they're usually doing that to try to breathe a little bit of life, a little bit of fresh air into their career. And then, of course, Jingliang coming off a very nice win by TKO against Muslim Salikov. Omar, give us your take and your pick first.
Out of 7 fights that Tony Ferguson has lost, 4 of them are the most recent losses. His last 4 fights are the most recent losses.
Yeah.
That is
He was on
painful.
quite a tear.
Painful.
Yeah.
Be honest, kind of hard to figure out exactly how this fight is going to play out. We know Tony Ferguson, or I should say we like to think we know Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's recent performances have just not really been it. Some have argued that this is the Tony Ferguson. We've just all been, maybe not understanding how not good Tony Ferguson actually is. I'm not of that mind. I think Tony Ferguson's unorthodox movements and his fight IQ is actually pretty damn good. It's very possible Father Time is just screwing with him at this point. Who knows? Either way, Jingliang is, I would say, definitely a test in the welterweight division. The one thing I really love about this fight is that Jingliang is taking it 100% seriously. I think he knows what he has in front of him. I think he knows that it's still a test regardless that the man is coming up in weight. And I think this is a lot more of a competitive fight than people may be giving credit for in either direction. Tony Ferguson's definitely got some weird shit when it comes to the striking. Jingliang will definitely crack Tony Ferguson in the face. That is 100%. I think where this fight might get a little interesting is if it goes to the ground. One of the things Tony Ferguson is known for is just relentless elbows, cutting people open, even when he's in ground position from the bottom. Jingliang, has a ground game for sure, but have we seen him use it in the most effective way? Arguments could be made, maybe not so much. There's real interest in how this fight can go in either direction. The reality is we haven't seen Tony Ferguson at 170 in a long time. So I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know if this is going to work out better or worse for him. The reality is I haven't had a lot of confidence in Tony Ferguson as of late. I still think the man is very, very good. But I think once we start talking about the top tier here, he just may not be it anymore. I think Li Jingliang is working into his prime. He's been doing very well. He's had that loss at Chimaev, but other than that little wrinkle, I think he's been doing quite fantastic. So I'm going to go with Li Jingliang. I'm going to give Tony Ferguson the respect he deserves, and I'm going to give him. I'm going to go with unanimous decision for Li Jingliang. But once that bell is rocked, it's very difficult to unrock it. So it's very possible his chin just isn't the same after that kick.
Okay, Mark.
All right, we got Li Jingliang at minus 310. Tony Ferguson plus 250. So if you're feeling confident in Tony,
shit,
it's a pretty good number. I don't know what to do with this fight, man. I'm not someone who writes off Tony either. He looked really good in round 1 against Michael Chandler, which a lot of people are just seeming to forget. I don't know how you can pick him here. He's going up a weight class, but it's not like he has built up his frame or anything. Like, he just fought Chandler not that long ago, and he's kind of just taking this fight so he doesn't have to cut. It's not like we're going to see some bigger, stronger version of Tony Ferguson. It's not like it's a downgrade in opponent. Like, if it was, okay, I'm going to go up to welterweight and I'm going to fight someone who's a little lower, maybe that makes more sense. Like, Li Jingliang is super dangerous. Like, the Leech is no joke.
Yeah.
He's bigger than Tony. He's stronger than Tony. He's not longer. Tony does have the reach because Tony just has that crazy reach that he's always had. I think he has a 4-inch reach advantage over Jingliang. But Jingliang's the bigger, stronger guy, and he hits hard as hell. Yep. Tony's chin is not the same as it once was. Would I love to see Tony grapple, and would that change this fight for me? Yeah. I do think there's an avenue where he could really look to grapple and possibly change this fight and make himself really live. But I don't think the story of this fight ends up being terribly dissimilar from that Chandler fight. I think maybe Tony comes out looking good, doing a couple things. Maybe there is a takedown at one point. Maybe lands some nice elbow or something, gets us excited, has a moment or two. But I just think as the exchanges continue, that Lee's power's too big, and he is good at finding his shots, and I don't trust Tony to stay standing at this point in his career. With the power of Li Jingliang, 170-pounder, strong guy coming at him. So I'm going to go with the Leech, unfortunately, by round 2 TKO.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. As much as I don't want to abandon Tony, but, I am. And I think, sometimes guys can go up in weight, and it's like, oh, because he doesn't have to cut, he's more durable. But then sometimes, he might get blown away by a guy who's, like Mark said, bigger and stronger. He's coming off of a fight against a guy who's like 5'6" in Michael Chandler. And Li Jingliang is a legit 6-foot, bigger framed guy. And even though they're not that far apart in age, it's not like Jingliang is like 26 years old.
Yeah.
I believe Jingliang is 35 or 34. But yeah, it seems like Jingliang has been looked good as of late, other than that one blip against Chimaev, and Chimaev seems to have done that against most of the guys when he came into the league. That being said, I think Jingliang can really crack, and he's going to find Tony's chin, and I don't think Tony's unorthodox movement is as effective as it once was. So I'm going to say he gets him out of there. He's going to be durable throughout most of the fight. I'm going to say he gets him out of there in the third round by TKO. And I think we might see Tony, I don't know.
That was my next question.
In a row, 5 losses in a row. Could we see him be like, you know what? I'm out. This is it. I should just,
I don't think his brain works.
Losing sucks.
After every loss, he has like something where he's just like, well, yeah, I realized it's because I trained when it was windy. So if I stop training when it's windy, like then everything's gonna be fine. Like every time he has something like that, like it's like as it in his own head, he just always thinks like next fight I'm gonna be the champion of the world. Like I don't know, which is a good thing in a way, but
Yeah.
Tony, are you ready to retire? Are you ready to retire, Tony? You guys need to do your research.
Yeah.
I was kicking pipes the other day. All right? That's why I lost. I kicked the pipe. I hurt my leg. I couldn't move. I was here though. Ain't nobody bitch. Had a baseball. I tried to ankle pick him. It didn't work. Do your research.
Okay. All right, boys. Let's move on to the main event of the evening of UFC 279. Here we go. Going down in the welterweight division, Khamzat Chimaev is taking on Nate Diaz in what is Nate Diaz's, I believe, final fight on his UFC contract. And they're matching him up with the phenom of Khamzat Chimaev. Mark, give us the odds of this crazy matchup.
Yeah.
And then give us your prediction and your pick.
Wait, I kind of want to guess this one before he does it because there's no way this is a normal line. This line has got to be fucking stupid. Let's see. I would even argue. Let's see. Chimaev minus 1,000, maybe.
Yeah, is it like disrespectful? Is it 1,000?
It's got to be. It's got to be. It's got to be
like
Chimaev
800?
minus 1,000. Nate Diaz plus 950.
Plus 800.
So Nate, you're only getting plus 700. I guess they don't want to give you too crazy odds on Nate, but Chimaev is minus 1,100.
I wasn't that far off, baby. I wasn't that far off.
Yeah,
I'm getting better at this whole betting thing.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So minus 1,100 for Chimaev, plus 700 for Nate. Chimaev is so much bigger than Nate Diaz, which I feel like no one is talking about. Like everyone's talking about the talent of Chimaev and how the styles match up and how can Nate win. I just keep thinking about the size. Like Chimaev is a man who easily fits in as a 185er, and he's fighting a guy whose prime occurred at 155, who was weak even then. Like Nate Diaz, as great as he is, has never been strong like compared to other guys he was fighting. He's one of the weaker guys in his weight class, and Chimaev is a fucking animal. So the size and strength here is going to be a huge disparity to me. And I'm thinking back to the fight where Rory McDonald tossed Nate Diaz around the cage, and I think this may look similar. I think Nate's going to get dropped on his head. I actually think Chimaev probably intends to pick him up and carry him across the cage and repeat what he did with the leech, if he can, and create a little viral moment for himself of carrying Nate Diaz across the cage while he talks to Dana White again. I actually think that's on his mind, if I had to guess, because of how easy it may be. I mean, it's, we know what this is. It's an impossible matchup for Nate Diaz, unfortunately. You'd love to see him in a different fight. Nate is still great. I'm someone who still rates Nate Diaz. I get shit for it sometimes. The guy's great, man. He hangs with everyone. Like, look, Leon Edwards is the fucking welterweight champion. He almost finished him in the 5th round. Like, Nate is a guy you got to give respect to, but it's an impossible matchup. Chimaev, the only thing he has to be careful of in this fight is that I'm sure he's going to hurt Nate, and he's going to have dominant positions on Nate. But Nate is very, very hard to truly put out. And Khamzat has to make sure he doesn't go too hard trying to do that and blow his wad, because the only way that Nate can somehow win this fight is if Chimaev manages to gas himself out. So that's the only thing I think he's got to think about. I can't see him losing it any other way. If he chooses to stand and strike with Nate, I guess it could go badly, but then all he has to do is take him down. If it ever started to go badly, just shoot a double. And yeah, Nate's jiu-jitsu is nasty, but Chimaev is just so damn strong. I don't know what Nate could pull off from his back if Chimaev's on top of him. So I think we're going to be on the ground. I think Chimaev is going to be controlling. I think he's too damn strong. I think he is just going to pour it on at one point or another and not necessarily put Nate out, but I think it's just going to be like a barrage, and Nate's probably going to be mad when the ref stops it, but the ref's going to stop it. Yeah. And I'll say that happens in round 2. So give me Khamzat Chimaev, pretty dominant, round 2 TKO.
Similar to Ricky Gervais's 5th and final Golden Globes hosting job, where he gave that sort of legendary screed against Hollywood actors. This is going to be like that out of Nate Diaz. You're going to not know what's going to happen in the next, from moment to moment. You're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? What is happening? There's going to be the most middle fingers you've ever seen. It's going to be like his fight against Leon, but to an even greater degree, I think. There's going to be like waving him off. There's going to be like walking away of like confusion of like, is he like forfeiting, and then he's back in it.
Dude, Chimaev is not a guy who's going to let you do the walk away thing, I don't think. Like, you walk away, I think he's just going to chase you.
Yeah, probably. Could be. I know. It's going to be like, don't blink for this fight. Don't blink.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, fuck this.
I'm concerned, though, about his attitude, not so much about the fuck this UFC thing, but he has been on this fuck this fight thing where he's basically told people, like, you know, I like don't even care. I'm not even training. Like, go ahead and beat me. Like, do what you want. I just want out of here. He's even talked about, like, if the UFC signs his 10 boys, that, like, he'll re-sign with the UFC. There is a lot of weird shit going on right now with Nate Diaz, and none of it seems to be Nate Diaz wanting to win this fight. And so it makes it difficult for me to root for, or not even root for Nate Diaz, but at least think Nate Diaz is going to win when not even Nate Diaz thinks he's going to win. So I'm going to go with Chimaev. I'll be rooting for Nate Diaz, but I think Chimaev is probably going to fuck this guy up pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a question of, you know, how much does Chimaev turn on the burners here, and does he go for a finish towards the middle or end of the first round, or does he kind of let him off the hook just to try to draw out the entertainment quality of the whole event?
I think the entertainment quality is actually going to be for him, not for the fans. There is something really disturbing about Chimaev and the glee that he takes from putting pain on people. I think he's going to just want to beat on Nate Diaz. One, because they've been kind of jawing at each other a little bit, right? Talking about how I didn't want to fight him and, you know, fuck this guy. He's not a real gangster, this, that, and the other. And Chimaev fully understands what's going on. Yeah. I'm the Chechen gangster. He's the, you know, U.S. gangster. And we're about to throw down and see who the most gangster person is. You want to think you're a real gangster? Let's find out. So I think there's going to be talking inside of the cage. There might be a little of that Khabib Conor-esque kind of vibe for a little bit once we actually finally get in there. I'm personally interested to see what the stare down looks like, because I've realized now I don't think they've squared off at all at this point.
It will soon.
I don't think they get near each other. I think it's a 3 feet away stare down. Not by their choice,
by
the UFC.
Right. But is this a Khamzat starts talking shit and then Nate Diaz kind of gives it back, or does Nate Diaz start talking and then the mentality is really interesting, because Nate Diaz has always been the guy to bring that aggression, bring that fuck you attitude, and it just seems like Nate Diaz is like, I don't even want to fucking be here, dog. Like, I don't want to be here.
I think they're both too willing to throw hands at the weigh-in, that the UFC is just going to be like, you stand here, take a picture.
You also got to bear in mind that Chimaev, he's on his own hype train, and he's like, I'm not going to let this guy, I don't care if he's a star, I'm not going to let him mess up my hype train at all. Yeah. And, you know, Nate Diaz, he's also starting his own fight promotion. By the way, Nate Diaz,
that's right.
Hit me up, buddy.
That's right.
I'll just, for shits and giggles, I'll say Chimaev gets the TKO at the end of round 1.
If Nate Diaz finds a way to win this fight, it will be some of the most legendary shit I've ever seen. I will personally get on a plane and carry Nate Diaz on my shoulders from Las Vegas back to Stockton.
Yeah.
I mean, if Nate Diaz beats Chimaev, he 100% has to scream out "fuck the UFC" on the microphone afterwards. I feel like that's.
He's the king of the world. If he said I want to fight Francis Ngannou, I'd be like, all right, like sure.
If a genie popped up in front of you right now and said Nate Diaz will beat Chimaev, but if that happens, that means that Jake Paul is going to beat Anderson Silva, would you say?
Oh, sorry, Nate Diaz. No, Nate Diaz has to go.
Way
Sorry.
more to me than Nate Diaz.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no way. Goodbye.
No.
All right, boys, we did it. That does it for UFC 279. Chimaev versus Diaz. It's
Be
going to
like
be a fun
ruining
one.
reality. Jesus
No
Christ.
title fight in this pay-per-view, but it is a fun pay-per-view with some nice matchups for sure.
Yeah.
Chimaev, Diaz, Jingliang, welcoming Tony Ferguson back to the welterweight division. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. The fun show that's going to be Johnny Walker versus Cutelaba. It's a fun one.
It is.
We
It's
get
an
to see
entertainment-filled
Jalton Almeida
pay-per-view.
come back. Yeah, it is, for sure. For sure. All right.